Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're your hosts. I am Justin.
And I'm Challee.
This podcast is a space where we explore practical ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit to create a happier and healthier life.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you are experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, please seek support from a licensed therapist or a qualified healthcare provider.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week.
Today's topic is people pleasing.
What a good topic. I think we can both talk on.
Yeah. So, okay, where do you want to start? People pleasing. Are you a people pleaser?
Guilty. I tend to be a people pleaser. I even saw it come up even recently when I felt it that I didn't really want to do the thing that someone was asking me, and I was like, of course, I'll do it. So I think this is a really good topic that I relate to pretty often. How about you?
I would like to consider myself like a recovering people pleaser because I definitely was, but I feel like my boundaries have gotten a lot better.
Okay.
So I really don't consider myself a people pleaser as much as I was.
I hope to get there.
Yeah.
This was
But
inspiring.
even saying it, I'm like feeling guilty, like I should be pleasing people.
So what's your definition of people pleasing? What might that look like for you?
Saying yes to anything that's asked without even considering myself, taking on extra tasks. That was a big thing that I had to like step back from because nobody would even ask me. Sometimes I would just be like, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Like, oh, do you want me to do that? I have time. I can do that. So taking a step back from that has been a challenge. What about you?
So for me, it definitely shows up in like taking too many things on. And I really related to that piece of like taking on things that aren't even asked of me, but like feeling like the obligation because I want people to be good and I want people to be well. And if there's something that I think that I can do that would make that better, I instantly do it. And I'm realizing now that that actually sometimes takes away their opportunity to accomplish something. And I'm then feeling better that I did it. So it can also, for me, really show up in, yeah, that saying yes to too many things. For me, it also shows up as me not advocating or like expressing myself or my wants. And then I'll put myself on the back burner. And then I do that repeatedly and repeatedly. And then I can't pour from an empty cup. And so I forget to pour out of overflow and I just drain myself.
Yeah. Ugh, draining.
And it's not that it's not appreciated, but it's not appreciated in the sense that it wasn't even necessary to do. So then there's like no level of appreciation because I'm not appreciating myself. So it's not fulfilling at that point either, where I'm someone who loves to help, but if it's not helpful for that person, then it's just going to take something away from me and potentially take something away from them.
Yeah. How do you become a people pleaser?
I feel like there's so many things.
That just popped into my head. Like, how did we get like this?
The therapist in me wants to go back to childhood.
Okay.
And think about just maybe if we were ever put in different environments that we felt like we had to manage different people's emotions. If we grew up around a good amount of chaos, it can be that there wasn't room for our emotions and there was a lot of unpredictability around us. So if we made ourselves smaller or shrink ourselves, then it didn't have as much of an impact. And we just wanted, well, if everybody else is good, then that means I'm good. Where if that person in my life is not good, then I have a negative reaction to that. I also think it can be if we have just been in that mindset and not having our own worth and getting our worth from either feeling productive or our worth from doing things for other people and not having that confidence or that self-worth in ourselves. What about you? Where do you think it comes from?
I like the childhood aspect of it. And maybe not feeling like not getting the recognition that we maybe deserved. So then like going above and beyond. Also just toxic jobs where like, have you ever had an evaluation where you're like, this person goes above and beyond their job duties? So, high five, thank you. Like, because I remember I had a job and I got an eval and our raise depended on our eval. And I got like above above and beyond on almost all of them, and I still got like the same raise I would have gotten if I had just moseyed through. Yeah, that's really disheartening. So going above and beyond is so like recognized but not rewarded.
Mhm.
And
It's
in our head, it's like we need to go above and beyond all the time. That's the only way we're going to be good.
I more recently made this shift and I don't remember why it was explained to me, but I want to say it was something around employment that like average is not bad. Average is well, average. It's where people are at. And I always thought average was less than.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So thinking about that in employment,
School. Now I'm
school,
thinking about like school and how you
mhm,
always had to be above average.
literally average for a reason. If it was less than, it would be below average. But it became like the standard that raised the bar. I know for me, I've always held myself to unrealistic standards. So then the the side of that is I can't meet an unrealistic standard, so then I'm feeling as though I'm less than in that sense. So then I want to then externally get that validation by going above and beyond because I couldn't meet the expectation in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that you kind of talked about the piece with employment, and it's something that is so commonly praised, where being average is not praised. So we have such a priority of work. I mean, I know me growing up, work was something that kind of defined us. And it doesn't have to be that definition of who we are, but I know for me, that was something that was such a priority that if I wasn't doing well there, then I wasn't doing well in any part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
People pleasing can be really detrimental to ourselves and then also take a toll on the people around us too. And we may not even see that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are some ways that you think people pleasing has shown up for you?
Like recently?
Recently, or like, can you think of any examples that had really stuck out that was like, oof, yeah, I did that for someone else completely and not myself?
I mean, just generally speaking, but like there have been some times where I have definitely taken on more than I could handle, like work wise.
Mhm.
And then, like, what do? You can't say, like, hey, I bit off more than I can chew. Normally, you can't. I did. But, it really depends on, like, speaking job wise, it depends on the job.
Yeah.
It really does. Because in my previous jobs, I could have never gone to like my supervisor and been like, hey, I know I volunteered for this, but like, I think I've bitten off way more than I can chew and I just can't. I would never do it. So, but now I'm in such a safe place where I could and I have said, like, hey, I think I have too much on my plate
Hmm.
and I'm really starting to feel burnt out and I think I need to, take a step back from whatever the extra responsibilities are.
Hmm. So, second part of that, how does that feel?
Terrifying. That feels terrifying. My supervisor is like, whenever I see her, she has like this glow around her, right? And she just is like, she's just up on a pedestal and she is just so amazing. And so I want to go above and beyond for her. And it was terrifying to have to feel like I'm gonna let you down. I'm sorry I let you down. And yeah, it was a really hard I think I cried.
Oh, yeah.
I've cried in a lot of meetings with my boss, and she, God bless her, she will just be like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, I don't know because I've said to her because I feel like I'm letting you down. And she has really helped to like shift my mindset. Cause like she compliments me for doing average stuff, and I'm like, "That's what I'm supposed to do." But
Right.
thank you.
And that can also shed some light on maybe we put some more pressure on ourselves than even what that person was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes to show also how we can really beat up ourselves about something that ends up not being that big of a deal, but by communicating it can just really resolve that. I know for me at times that I've had, and I can really relate to the piece. I think it shows up a lot with employment, and that's where I've really had to work on some boundaries and I've gained some more insight in this. I know recently when I like agreed to the thing just because I wanted to make that person happy, I then instantly was like, "Ah, I didn't really want to do that, but I wanted her to be happy because I was asked to do
Mm,
it."
mhm.
It's hard to feel secure in ourselves while maybe letting someone else down when there might be that pressure that we might actually let someone down, and that's okay. It's okay that we don't do exactly what that person wanted.
Do you think being a people pleaser affects how you ask for help?
100%.
Yeah,
Oh, that's such a good point.
I think that's where I still struggle.
Yeah. How so?
Because I will phrase I think I've done this to you many times, where instead of just saying like, "Hey, can you do this?" I will be like, "Hey, I have a question, I have a favor. Totally fine if you say no. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm just gonna ask." Like, I will give this whole paragraph and then be like, "Can you bring an extra charger to the office?" Or like something.
And that's exactly what it's been too. Like, I'm, like, preparing in my head, I'm like, "Well, no, she wants me to run a marathon." And, "No, just bring a charger."
Yeah.
"Okay."
So yeah, it definitely that still affects me asking for things. And that reaches beyond employment.
Yeah.
Like that's how I sometimes will talk to my friends too.
"Are you interested in maybe doing this thing because it would potentially help me sometime?"
Yeah.
"Yeah."
You can totally say no. Say no. Like it's almost like I want you to say no. And I mean well because
Mhm.
I was such a people pleaser that I don't want other people to feel like they have to say yes. So it's
I wonder if this falls under it too. I will sometimes not even set plans or ask to do something because I don't wanna, like, inconvenience them, and I feel like by asking them, I'm putting pressure on them to do something, and this has happened probably more times than I realized, but, like, someone would have been really happy to help or would have been really happy to do whatever that thing was, but because I didn't wanna inconvenience them, I didn't even ask. I didn't even give that person the opportunity to help.
Mhm. My friend has yelled at me a couple times about this because oh my gosh, I can't remember like a most recent example, but we were like talking and I would say like, "Yeah, well, I can't do that because, I have, I don't know, like I have to be home with when Richard gets off the bus and blah blah blah." And she's like, "Why didn't you just ask me? I live around the corner. I can come get your
Mhm.
kid off the bus." And I'm like, well, I don't know what you have going on, and I didn't want to like inconvenience you. And I've asked for a lot lately, and I don't want to keep asking for stuff. And so, yeah, you don't even ask. And then you
Yeah.
get yelled at by your best friend because she's like, stop it.
People pleasing shows up it many times shows up in really small ways that we may not catch it initially, but we catch it when all those things add up and we're just feeling drained and burnt out.
Mm,
And then it can feel so overwhelming to kind of backpedal on some of these things because I've already signed myself up for all these obligations. I've already done all the things and gone out of my way. And then, well, now it's too much because all these things have layered on. How might you recover in that sense of like, how do we start to take some of these layers away?
Decide who you're most comfortable with and start there. So, if you're overwhelmed with something, I don't know, decide who you could have that conversation with and go from there. And then ask for help. Tell them, like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and then say, what should I do about these other things? I
Mhm.
guess just reaching out for help.
And I think another piece that you kind of said on that is start somewhere.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
starting somewhere. Saying
Mhm.
no, even in the small things, can help us build that confidence. Because I know for me, it's really stemmed from a lack of confidence. Is someone's not gonna like me. They're not gonna enjoy spending time with me. They're not going to want to be around me. It's all these like defeating beliefs that I have that really has nothing to do with me saying yes or no about doing something or helping or the other piece of, well, if I ask for help too many times, they're going to get sick of me. That's probably not the case, especially because I know thinking about this, it just made sense to me. I've put a lot of work into who I have in my life so that I don't have to have these fears. So,
Mhm.
in that same breath, being able to think about, no, I've put a lot of effort into these relationships. I know I can go to them, or
Mhm.
I know I can say no. They're going to love me anyways.
Yep. Being able to say no and not have to make up an excuse is so nice. Like, if my friend wants to do something and I can just say, no, I'm peopled out for the day. Like, I cannot. leave my house. Like, I just can't do it. And knowing that, like, there's no judgment. Like, yeah, no, I totally get it.
I have gotten myself in like challenges with friends because of that, because of not wanting to say, no, this is actually what I have to do, or this is the obligation that I have. I say yes, and then things get too messy, and then I'm letting someone down, and then I'm having to then explain. And then it's easiest to just kind of come up with that excuse, and then I dig myself in that hole. This
Mhm.
is something that I definitely feel like showed up when I was younger. I've really worked to set some boundaries, and I also have worked to have people in my life that are not going to put me in those like really uncomfortable situations. It snowballs. And we
Mhm.
come up
Oh
with
my
that
God,
first
yeah.
excuse, and then, well, even if it's not a lie, but like having to like build on that excuse to make it like valid or
To
work.
justify it. You have to, like, justify it.
That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
When truthfully, it could have been as simple as no. But I just buried myself in that excuse and justification because I didn't feel confident in saying no. I know for me, I feel like a lot of my people pleasing has stemmed from not being confident in myself and really relying on that external for that validation or that self worth. And for me, I had some support. When we talk about the childhood piece, it does not always have to be these like huge, big things that make us a people pleaser. It can be just really small things. It can be things that we picked up from school,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not always within that family dynamic either. It can be, but there's so many different influences that we pick up through childhood that can develop that.
Yeah.
And through work, goodness,
I know whenever we say childhood, it's always like intense childhood trauma, but like, no, it could just simply be little things that we picked up over the years.
being not that I was on a sports team, but like being on a sports team and, something that was so beneficial could also have some of those maybe more negative things that we pick up and bring into adulthood
Dude,
too.
I played basketball for so long. I enjoyed it when I was younger, but then when I got into high school, I did not enjoy it. I wanted to cheerlead. And I remember I played basketball for way longer than I should have because my family kept telling me that they will still to this day insist that I was just so good at basketball. And I'm like, yeah, when I was in fifth and sixth grade, like not in high school, I was the worst one on that JV basketball team. Like I remember I was awful. And I should have just been cheering. I love cheerleading. But yeah, no, my family was I didn't want to let them down.
Right. And that example right there is they weren't doing anything wrong. They were encouraging you.
Yeah.
But then it put that pressure of, well, okay, I want to do it because they want me to do it. And that definitely shows up, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about people pleasing, it can be a way of life, and we don't even notice it until it gets to that point that it's draining us. And for some of us, it's just ingrained in our family. So
Mm-hmm.
we may not notice that we're doing this until we meet someone else that has set those firm boundaries. And that might be uncomfortable because then someone might tell us no, and we're like, oh, that's rude.
Ooh, good
That's setting a
point.
boundary.
Huh?
So I know thinking about this, that boundaries are something that are so important, but many times family, different generations, boundaries were not something that was taught. So then generationally, these things get passed down. So people pleasing could
Mm-hmm.
get passed down and it not be bad,
Yeah.
but it can show up in an unhealthy way. What's your thought?
People pleasing is genetic. No. But no, it's so true. I didn't think of it that way. But yeah, just passed down totally innocently.
Yeah.
Hmm. So interesting.
Again, like it doesn't have to be those big traumas that we think about. It's the little things that we pick up and we see that mom always went out of her way and she was always praised for going out of her way for things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well now I have to do that, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I know for me, those are different things that I have picked up. I want to be the best version of myself. And then I took it to an extreme. So we can still show up and go out of our way for people, but having those boundaries, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
That's so interesting because now I'm thinking about it, and like my mom always worked a second job, and I always had at least two jobs. And now for the last however many years, I've only had one, and I still feel uncomfortable with it. Like, I still will catch myself, like, looking at, like, jobs and then being like, "No, you cannot have another job. Like, you don't need it. You can't do it." But it's, like, ingrained in me that, like, if I don't have 2 jobs, I'm not working as hard.
Yeah,
Huh,
that's so interesting.
it is.
And when we're looking at the ways that we may have picked this up, we could also take it to a farther extreme than the people before us or the people around us, and then it becomes more problematic for us. Or our life circumstances are different too. So kind of thinking about the second job piece, it is something that you definitely praised that mom did, and it was part of the characteristic of who she was. She's hardworking.
Hmm.
But then thinking about that in your terms, you may not need to right now because you have set up a different life and it's still something that can weigh on you.
Mhm.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Like, I am 30 weeks pregnant. I have to remind myself, like, "You're not getting a second job right now, Challee. Come on."
That's so funny. But it's things that we pick up and are ingrained in us. And it is, I know for me, like I hold my mom way up here. And so I want to go out of my way and do things. And I've definitely caught myself in like the going out of my way and doing things. And it's like, you didn't need to do that.
Mhm.
And that shows up sometimes difficult. Yeah, I don't like that part.
So, talking about people pleasing, before we wrap up, what are some steps that you can take to start to kind of stop the people pleasing routine?
So I want to share kind of what I've started to do in this sense, and then I really want to see
Is it
your
the
take.
awesome advice you got from me?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them definitely being able to think about something and tell someone that I'm not going to respond right at that moment.
Yes, that is my only piece of advice that I have for you is don't respond in the moment. Say, "Let me think about it and I will get back to you by tomorrow," or
Mhm.
whatever.
And what a difference that makes.
Right? Okay, so tell me. I'm so excited.
Getting more comfortable with saying no. And this has been through just so much work on this of setting a boundary and saying no, not having to justify or
Yes, because no is a complete sentence.
that has been one of the biggest things. Reaching out for help and sharing, like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, and accepting that help too
Mm.
has been a big thing.
Yes, accepting the help.
Because something that might be really overwhelming for me to have on my plate at this moment may not be for someone else because they have different circumstances. So asking for that help that just because it was hard for me to do, it might not be for that person.
True.
It's on their skill set. So being able to just communicate more has been a really big piece of trying to heal this, having self-confidence and building my self-worth and knowing that my self-worth is not dependent on what I do for work, what I do for other people, and just knowing that I have worth just by existing. That's
Ah,
been a really
I
big,
love that.
yeah.
And I know you can't always do it, but surrounding yourself with healthy people where like I said, my boss will praise me for just doing my job. So if, she asks if I want to take on something extra, I feel totally comfortable saying like, "No, thank you." And I might, cuz I love her, so I might be like, "No, thank you. I feel like I have a lot on my plate already." Or, just give a little explanation, but I never feel like I have to, which is the important part. And I never feel like okay, I'm not gonna say never, but I usually don't feel like I have to give, like, a long-winded explanation, like, I'm still working on that, but you know what I mean? Like, but she's so supportive of it, it's just so nice, it really does make a difference.
Yeah. I think also having support and letting that support in has been a piece because I can think of times that I've had support and I just didn't let them in. And that wasn't helpful in that sense
Mhm.
because someone wanted to be there and I just kind of shut it out. And then I was still dealing with the things on my own that I really did have some help with. So becoming comfortable in letting those guards down too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're on the right track.
Thank you. What a good topic.
I know.
And it might show up in different ways that we wouldn't initially think about as people pleasing. Very good. Thank you for sharing your experience also on how you've worked on this.
Right back at ya.
Thank you. All right. So if anybody wants to share any ways that they've been able to work on overcoming people pleasing or some other ways that we didn't talk about that it might show up too.
Ooh, yes. Leave comments, questions, anything you might have.
Thank you for joining us this week.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.